What is something that is fake, but people believe that it's real? Reality TV. Some of it is actually frighteningly real. Shows like Survivor and Hell's Kitchen have professional psychologists who screen contestants for volatile personality traits. Basically they're looking for people who are likely to break down in a high stress environment and or start a lot of petty arguments. Some shows are scripted, some aren't. All of them use editing to make things look more dramatic than they actually are. So yeah, a lot of tricks and factory, but the stuff that is actually real is kind of horrific. Like mentally manipulating contestants horrific. Also, those shows have so much footage, think like 2000 plus hours for each episode, that they can basically spin even a one-off quip into a whole storyline just by editing. That the Great Wall of China is the only man-made object visible from space. The Great Wall of China cannot be seen from space. It drives me nuts that so many people believe this, and that there are books that publish this myth. Although it is the largest man-made structure, it is very narrow. If it was visible from space then every highway would also be visible. In 2005, a Chinese astronaut went to space and agreed that the wall is not visible from space to the naked eye. You can see space from the Great Wall of China is my go-to fact about the Great Wall lol. New fun Great Wall fact for you to use. The cementing material used for many parts of the wall only uses glutinous rice starch as the adhesive component. New not so fun Great Wall fact. The bodies of slaves who died constructing the wall were buried under and around the foundations. New not so fun Great Wall fact. The bodies of slaves who died constructing the wall were buried under and around the foundations. Must have been the origins of the old saying what's one more body amongst foundations. I think they took over my dead body too literally against the Mongolians. We value your privacy. https://www.youtube.com/watch v equals xq85r_ckby. Your privacy is very valuable, so we are selling it. Perfect. People from Columbus's time did not think the earth was flat. Yeah. And those other sailors that laughed at him were pointing out he'd run out of supplies trying to get to where he thought he was going. Which was absolutely correct. If the Americas were not there, no way he would have made it to Asia. Though the earth was much smaller than it was, even though the size of the earth was already known. I want to say some Greek or maybe a Mesopotamian calculated the diameter of the earth to an impressive degree of accuracy in like 100 sep. Found it. Eratosthenes in 200 seps. N.M. Wikipedia. org/wiki/Eratosthenes. Some of the Insta-influencer photos. Some. Do you want me to replace it with most? ? Yup. D. Enlarging pills. So, I'm getting a 5 feet long monster in my pants after I take them. Pornhub lied to me. If they worked there'd just be dicks swinging everywhere. It's like the balding treatments they try to convince people work. If they did we'd have a bunch of full-manned 80-year-olds strutting around. Same with magic weight loss pills. If there was a pill you could take to not be fat, there wouldn't be any fat people. We only use 10% of our brain. If you still believe this then you actually only use 10% of your brain. You mean, people who believe we only use 10% of our brain are the proof that there are people who use 10% of their brain? Good thing that I subscribed to cloud braining. Ooh, about that. We are gonna need you to resubscribe, or you risk losing all of your saved items. Edit, autocorrect. That blood is blue until being exposed to oxygen. And after I've explained that their vein looking blue through their skin is an optical illusion, they point at their arm and say, look, it's blue, apostrophe. If they ever give blood or have a lab test, easy to see that blood is not exposed and will be dark. Perhaps you can use that in support of your argument. Use that argument. I received theirs air in the vial. You must know my ex. He also explained that his was blue, even if mine wasn't, because he was descended from royalty. Blue bloods. Open bracket. That there's always two opposite and equally credible views. Some things are just wrong and that's it. Abstaining from sex leads to better performance in sports like boxing. It's been debunked multiple times, but dumbasses still do it and vouch for it. There's actually a much better reason Why boxers don't have sex before a bout? They don't like each other that much. I don't know. A lot of boxing promotional photos look like gay wedding photos. Two grown men fighting over a purse and a belt. Sounds more like divorce. Plastic recycling. I thought my whole life that, as long as you recycled plastic it would be reused. And I thought that recycling was saving the environment. But most plastic isn't recyclable. So we are eventually just putting it into landfills. Even the biodegradable plastics like PLA aren't actually biodegradable, except in very specific circumstances. I found this out after I started doing some 3D printing with a 3D pen. And now it's really bothering me. Paper recycling harms the planet through the energy consumption and chemicals used to bleach the paper white. We literally grow trees for paper, though, on tree farms. No one's cutting the rainforest down for toilet paper. They're doing it for things like grazing land for cattle and palm oil. Forests are being cut down for "fast furniture", think IKEA and Wayfair. The way we consume furniture has changed so drastically over the last 20 years to the detriment of the planet. The scary thing that folks don't really know is that house fires are so much deadlier than they were in the past. This is because we now fill our homes with gasoline, plastic stuff. Furniture is made with more plastic than ever before. It burns hot and fast, and it's extremely dangerous. My Phil was a fire chef for 20 plus years and talked about this change and how there is so much less time to control a fire these days because of that. I had no idea. The mass panic over War of the Worlds never happened. The papers ran it to show radio was untrustworthy to promote themselves, and Wells ran with it because it was great PR. Searched this thread to learn something new and found one I'll have to research. Thanks. Supposedly, the thing about words is if enough people use them the same way, they exist. This drives me insane. I can't stand it when slang becomes proper English. But I also know that's just how language and communication works. F it I guess. Yeah, I get it. But you're right, it is just how it works. Unless you're working in an environment where you really don't want to ref up meanings, then standardization of speech is just useless. We've only started standardizing language on a large scale in the last couple of 100 years, I think. It's the reason English spelling is nuts. All the pronunciations have been changing ever since. As well all know, contractions like don't and world were pretty infuriating for a lot of people who believed language should only be prescribed. Where it can be useful is tracing the etymology of words. Also, I suppose it is pretty handy for a lingua franca. Naturopathic doctors are not real doctors. Stay far away from these people. There is a reason why they send you to an actual physician in order to get a diagnostic lab referral. Just remember that ND stands for not a doctor. Fremulan r/unexpected Brooklyn 99. The opinion spouted from talking heads on opinion shows masquerading as news. Some people can live their entire lives being human garbage and never have to suffer for it. Other people can live their entire lives being truly decent human beings and do nothing but suffer. Life isn't fair. So it's incredibly insulting for people to say things like it's okay. Karma will get that person in the end. For years I honestly thought that everyone knew karma and luck are just names for happenstance. A friend told me he didn't believe in luck a few years ago. Eventually we got to the point I asked, wait, do you think it's a deity or something? Turns out he thought anyone who mentioned luck was basically going on about their religious beliefs. /TDO, you think it's a deity or something? Lady Luck, hallowed be thy name. Blessed is she who doesn't wander all over the room to blow on some other guy's dice. Amen. That there are hot MILFs in your area. I've seen them. They are not looking for sex with me. That the customer is always right. Just stop. The customer is always right in matters of opinion. That is the whole quote, I believe. That's correct. It originally meant something along the lines of stock what the customer wants. Somehow it got co-opted to mean something totally different. That humans can make emotion-free decisions. Edit. This is based on neuroscientific research. Antonio Damasio. That showed people who had brain damage that prevented them from feeling emotions were incapable of making decisions. The idea is that no matter how logical you think a decision is, emotions play a role. My understanding is that emotion is the thing that stops the logic loop. Without it you just keep listing options without being able to assign value to them. NFTs. Hey, my ludicrously overpriced pixeled monkey peg will be worth millions when I earn enough money to buy it off myself to falsely inflate the value. Just gotta hope the link doesn't change, or I'll just own a very expensive 404 error on the blockchain. The frustrating part is that some people have made money out of them, but only by convincing other NFT idiots that they should buy them. In a few years it will all look very silly, but then maybe a decade or so after that, people will forget the losers and only see the few winners, like people who made serious money out of NFTs, and start thinking it's a good idea again. NFTs aren't quite a pyramid scheme / MLM, but they are similar in that if you're the one currently holding the product, you're the sucker. Steven Seagal's martial arts abilities. The last time he was able to lift a leg to someone's face, it was a chicken leg to his own. Astrology. I don't know. Cancer is real. Same for crabs. The gift that keeps on giving. Nature really does love crabs. Kim Kardashian's butt. Don't know a single person who thinks it's real. Can I probably? That vaccines cause autism. Obviously with less children dying from things like polio and smallpox more of us survive. Thus autism remains. Unless the anti-vaxxers would prefer dead children. Let my people and I live. I think the reason why autism rates are increasing isn't because less kids are dying. I think it's just because we keep getting better and better at diagnosing it. It's like how cancer rates are increasing. It's usually because we can find it earlier. This has been studied. It is precisely because of diagnostic improvements. The entire book The Secret. Willing things into existence like money does not happen. The first time I heard about this book was around 10 years ago when I volunteered to help on a small local theater production as was trying to boost my CV. There was this woman who has managed to get the space, money and actors to put on a production of a play called Rock Nativity. The writer of the play was also involved. In my opinion, I thought the play was awful, but I kept that to myself. Also I'm not religious so my opinion was biased. However, the creators were convinced it was going to be a huge hit. We're even talking about how it was probably going to tour after. One time I asked if they had bookings at other theaters. They said no, but knew it was going to happen because of this book they were reading called The Secret. The woman then told me she knew it would be a sellout play because of her following the book's teachings night after night, and she would picture a theater full of people cheering for the play. Apparently it was this confidence that got her the funding, so maybe there is some truth to it. Anyway, opening night comes, and we have about 40-ish people. She was devastated and said this is not how the book said it would turn out. The numbers dwindled night after night, and then she just disappeared before the run of the show even ended. Someone told me she thought the ticket sales would cover the money she took out to put on the show. TLDR. Someone put on a play and thought it'd be a success because used the secret book. Homeopathy being effective beyond the placebo effect, of course. Also psychics, palmistry, astral projection, auras, magical thinking, https://n wikipedia.org/wiki/magical_thinking. The list could go on. I read psychics as physics, and I think that's the most confused I've ever been in my life. I genuinely could not figure out why physics did not exist. Then I remembered they do, and that I'm an idiot. How can physics be real if our eyes are not real? Some animal facts. Lemmings throwing themselves off cliffs because of overpopulation. Alpha wolves and the whole wolf pack memes/analogies that go around. How some animals are monogamous and therefore should be used as evidence that monogamous relationships are the norm, etc. Yeah, the lemmings one is BS. The guy who was reporting on it would have his crew throw some off of a cliff so he could record it. Wasn't there some connection to Disney? Just googled it to get my facts straight. Yes, you are right. Disney filmmakers did that. Subway's tuna being not tuna. It is tuna. I work there and would prep it. It's farm raised flake tuna mixed with an unhealthy amount of mayo. Sugar rush, yeah. Sugar is energy. But unless your kid is diabetic, they are able to control their blood sugar content. It's called insulin. Sugar doesn't make kids hyperactive. Don't believe me? Look at a basic lunch. PB plus J sandwich and a glass of orange juice. There are 17 sugar cubes in this meal. But it doesn't cause hyperactivity. It's an example of nocebo. Children are told they become hyperactive when they have sweets. So they act hyperactive. If you stop propagating this myth, your children will stop being hyperactive when they eat candy. Tell them it's unhealthy when you deny them sweets. Don't parrot bullshit that they won't be able to sleep if you give them chocolate ice cream for dessert. It's probably also because they are just excited. They're happy they got sweets. When do kids tend to have lots of sugar? At special events, parties and celebrations. They are not hyperactive because they ate sugar. They're hyperactive because they're at an event and are happy they just got sweets.